Hey, man.
I can do the episode with your hair looking like that.
Gosh.
I was wondering the whole time we were setting up. I was like, surely he's gonna fix his hair.
It's fine. It's fine.
This is what you look like now?
Yeah. It's
okay.
Fine. It's good.
All right,
it's
man.
Whatever.
Hey, happy to be here. By the way. You know?
I don't think you are. All
right, what's up?
Believe it.
What you got today?
And nobody else does.
What
either.
topics do you have today?
Have you ever heard of Bricks and Minifigs?
Bricks and Minifigs?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, we got it.
Yeah. What do you do for your work? Well, I'm a YouTuber. What does that look like? I lure young girls into the woods. Yeah, I was back when I was into scaring third graders.
Things I learned last night.
So, well, I'll tell you what Bricks and Minifigs is actually to start this story. This story, I'll tell you this, is one of the most. Okay, what I can say for sure, this is definitely going to be in law textbooks for years to come. And this is one of the most convoluted,
Bricks and Minifigs,
messy, just disasters of
Minifigs.
A bunch of people making bad choices over and over and over again.
Okay.
And there's a lot to this story.
Which is also the story of this podcast. We keep showing up, then we keep making bad choices over and over and over again.
What I'll tell you for sure is it's June 16th. This is a developing story. By the time this comes out, some other stuff has for sure happened.
Yeah.
And in the length of this podcast, we're definitely not going to be able to cover everything.
When does this episode come out?
I don't know. A few weeks. I honestly don't know. Should I find out? Should we pause for a second and I find out? Okay, let's leave all this in. I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to find out.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, okay, I'm finding out. Hold on.
You're in a mood.
I'm not in a mood. You broke your wife's suitcase.
I'm not in a mood. Not me.
So July 7th.
Yeah.
So for sure some stuff has happened.
Yeah, and also what's happening in July
What?
is that I'm in gosh darn, Indiana.
Yeah.
On July 24th and 5th. That's why I was asking about the release date.
Oh, there
Remember
you go.
that I do stuff outside of this?
What do you do?
Appliance repair. And I'll be in Goshen. I'll be in Goshen. I think it's Goshen. I'll be in Goshen, Indiana, fixing some refrigerators on July 24th and 25th.
He does like faith healing events, but it's for small
Yeah,
appliances.
they lay my hands.
And you like bring it to him.
And you watch the temperature go down. You know? It's pretty wild.
He healed my microwave.
He healed my microwave.
But what I'm saying is this is
Yeah.
There's a lot to the story.
Okay.
If you know this story coming in, I'm definitely not going to be able to cover everything. Is
Okay.
what I'm going to say. But Bricks and Minifigs is a Lego like resale chain.
Got it. Okay.
They're all
this
across.
makes sense.
They're all across the country.
What is a minifig?
minifigures?
Bricks makes sense.
Yeah, minifigures are the little like guys, the
minifigs.
Lego guys.
Yeah. So they're off-brand but they sell Legos.
They sell Legos, and so
So there's a lawsuit where Lego's like, you can't do this.
Well, they are separate, completely separate from Lego. They
Right.
just do Lego resale.
Right.
They don't like do anything that uses the brand of Lego. And so like they're getting away with it. They have for a couple years been working to become an authorized retailer of Lego.
Okay.
That has not happened yet.
Right.
Right now they're just a resale like
So they
collector's
can't
store.
sell new Lego things.
Yes, but it's just resell old stuff. And so it's
Okay.
kind of like GameStop.
Yeah.
Where you come in, you trade in your old Legos to get
Sure.
new old Legos.
Oh. Noah loves this episode right now. Oh, we got a couple Patreon supporters who are like,
I actually learned it from Noah.
oh, did you? Okay. Yeah.
So,
Shout out to you, Noah.
and I will say, Noah, when I first looked into this, I definitely did say I hated this story and I wasn't going to cover it. But the more I got into it, I was like, oh, I need to cover this story. So
Yeah.
good recommendation.
Yeah. Good job, Noah.
So the story starts with this guy by the name of Brian Mansell. And so Brian, his dad, not
Okay.
him, his dad has a massive Lego Star Wars collection. valued somewhere in the ballpark of $200,000. And it's all these rare Lego Star Wars, like old discontinued
Are
sets.
they put together?
They're in the boxes.
Okay.
And so these are boxed, like collector items,
Yes.
like treated.
Which
sets.
is the whole point of Legos, is to not open them and not put them together.
They're so much more fun when they're in the box.
So much more fun when you just look at it.
So his dad started collecting the set.
You know
in the
that I know
90s.
like a Lego master.
Really?
Yeah.
Like worked for Legoland?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. He won a art competition.
For Legos?
And yeah, it was like a sculpture competition with Legos. And then he worked at the Kansas City one and was going to go on that show. Is the show called Lego Masters?
I have no idea.
But yeah, so he built like the fully functioning R2D2
Wow.
down at Legoland Kansas City.
Yeah.
And then Disney sued him and made him pull it off the floor. Because it was like a fully functioning, like with the remote control and everything. And
Disney sued him, not Lego.
Because Disney owns the Star Wars IP.
That's crazy.
And then they were like,
they sued him for that.
They didn't sue him.
Oh, they sued the.
They told
Legoland.
Legoland, send him a cease and desist, and they were like, "Hey, that you can't have that on display because it's not an official Lego licensed
Sad.
IP."
That's crazy.
Because like he just made it. He just made it.
That's insane.
He's one of those. Have you been to Legoland?
Yeah, I've been. Well, I went
You've
to
been to
Legoland
Legoland?
when I was a kid. When I was like,
Is that what ours is called? Is it called Legoland?
Kansas City does have a Legoland, but it's not Legoland like San Diego. That's where I've been.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah,
But it is like Kansas City, and it smells like wet hot dogs. It like because they have a concession stand and they're selling
Wet
damp
hot
they're
dogs.
selling damp
It's
dogs.
on the menu. Wet hot
It's-
dog.
I mean,
dry hot dog.
You know,
That's all
okay.
they got. Is
Look,
wet
you
hot
know-
dog.
you know what I'm
want
talking
a
about.
wet hot dog or a dry hot dog?
Don't yell over me, Tim. It ruins the podcast
Okay, sorry,
experience for our
sorry,
listeners.
sorry,
But you know,
sorry.
you
Start
know,
yelling again.
No, I'm not going to engage with that
Fine,
behavior.
I'll be quiet about it.
Okay, so
Do you want a wet hot dog or dry hot dog?
so you know what I'm talking about. What if we did the whole podcast NPR style? You know what I'm talking about when I say no, but you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're
Where
talking
people
about.
like they put them on the rollers or they just boil those dogs.
Yeah.
And the whole place smells like damp dogs.
Damn dogs. Yeah, that's right.
And like that nacho cheese bag.
Yeah. Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And they haven't figured out how to ventilate the Legoland Kansas City location so that it doesn't like 'cause literally I was walking around, I was like, this stuff's really cool, but also like
I'm gonna throw up.
it smells so bad.
Yikes.
Just do chips.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't gotta have hot
You don't have
dogs.
to have wet hot dogs and bag nacho cheese.
You don't have to do it.
Yeah,
Just sell chips.
that's rough. Yeah, so no, I haven't been to that one. I've been to the one in San Diego.
Okay.
The one in San Diego, they have a driving school and you get a license.
Yeah.
And I went when I was probably like 7 or 8. My parents took me, like it was a family vacation.
And then you drove back because they were like, you got your license now, buddy.
we got to the airport and they asked, like, security
For your
asked
ID?
for my parents' ID, and then I handed them my Legoland ID. It was nice. And
Yeah.
then they arrested
And then
me.
they
broke
threw
my
you
knee.
on the ground. And then they held you in a room for 7 hours. Your parents, by the way, got on the flight still. Crazy
Of
because they
Like,
didn't
we can't
care.
miss the flight.
They didn't care.
Yeah, they'll ship them back when they're
They're
done
like,
with
they'll
them.
figure it out. They'll question him. And your dad was
Yeah.
like, honestly, I want to know if he is involved
Yeah.
with some terrorism.
Brian's dad has this really valuable
Brian's
collection.
dad.
Brian's dad has this really valuable collection.
Yes.
And Brian's dad's intention for the collection from the start
Okay.
was, I mean, I shouldn't say his intention from the start. His intention from the start was he loved him and he wanted to collect them. But his long-term dream was one day I will sell this collection and it's going to pay for my grandkids' college. It was his plan.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'm going to be collecting. It's going to increase in value and it'll send me
Sure.
to college. Well, sadly, his dad gets cancer and they need the money. And so they decide, let's go sell the collection and try to make some money. So Brian Mansell, this guy, he takes that collection to his local Bricks Minifigs store, which is in Salem, Oregon, or I think it's like right outside Salem, Oregon, a town right outside.
Okay.
And he makes a consignment deal with them. So he doesn't actually sell it to them. If you don't know what consignment is, the store basically just agrees to hold it on stock and they're going to take a commission of every sale and then pay Brian when they sell it instead of buying out the whole collection.
Okay.
When they originally make the consignment deal, Bricks and Minifigs, the owners of that franchise, it's a franchise company, not a like corporate owned company. They go and they take pictures of the collection at his house and they post about it. They make a huge deal about it, how this is a $200,000 collection.
Yeah.
And then they enter into this consignment deal. Meanwhile, the owners of let me get their names right. The owners of this franchise, they are, their names are Crystal Law and Benjamin Gorman. They are partners, and they're planning on moving out of the country, and they own this franchise. And so they make this deal. They have it for about a year, everything under consignment, and then they call corporate and they say, "Hey, we want to go ahead and sell our franchise. We're
moving."
Yeah. And so they start the process. They're going through all the paperwork. And then one night in the middle of the night, I shouldn't say the middle of the night, right before close, somebody shows up at the store with someone from somebody shows up at the store
to rob them.
Somebody shows up at the store with somebody from corporate, and they're like, "Hey, we are taking over this location. This is no longer your location. You need to hand over all your documents, and you need to vacate the property. The property. If you don't, you will be trespassed."
Immediately?
Yeah, you will be trespassed.
How? Should we just do this to some people? Should we put on like a suit and tie and just walk into places and go, "Hey, excuse me"?
Well, here's the thing. This really was a corporate representative.
Yeah. I understand. I understand. We're gonna do that. I understand.
You're saying,
but I'm saying,
should we?
Let's just show up places and go like, "Hi,
and just take over.
We're from corporate. You don't know that." Hey, I'm from Bricks and Minifigs Corporate. Here's my badge. And
it's like what's that guy's name? Jimmy. I've sent you his stuff. He shows up
Fallon.
on construction sets.
You love Jimmy. You send me Jimmy Fallon videos all the time. People are like, "Why? Who's watching the Tonight Show anymore?" It's Tim. He's watching.
I send the videos. They're not clips. They're videos of my TV that I film and I send to Jared. And you can hear me breathe laughing. I'm like.
And you can't hear the TV.
All you hear is my breathe laughing because I'm wearing AirPods.
And like you're also sending me the commercials because you're watching on live TV.
Yeah. This is.
And you're like, you gotta. He told me this. I saw.
Wait to see this joke.
This is
so
coming
good.
back after this.
Hold on, I rewound, but I went too far.
I rewound it.
I went too far back.
Okay. So, Jimmy, somebody.
No, Jimmy. Yeah, what's his name? But he shows up at construction sites and he does that.
Oh yeah,
and he just acts like he's like, "Hey, can you get this chain to?" Yeah, he's like, "Can you get this chain to this guy?"
Big fan.
And like just messes with
just hand stuff. Hey, would you pass that over to?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, would you make sure Brian gets this?
Yeah, and he's like, "Hey, what did Todd say? Did Todd say anything about that lunch I sent over today? Did you get any of that?" And then people, lunch? Who's Todd? It's hilarious, and it works every single time. I love it.
That's what I'm saying, dude. It's like the doctor in a lab coat thing.
Yeah, you just believe it. Like,
just create yourself as a position of authority.
Yeah, if you seem confident, people believe you.
Hey, we're from corporate. We actually need you to empty all the cash out of the register and put it on this gift card, and then give me the code for the gift card. So that would help me a lot.
It's just typical corporate activity.
Typical corporate stuff. You know,
doing business.
Big people up top. Hey, I don't.
If you had a college degree, you'd get it.
Well, and your question that is why I drive. Is why I drive a 2014 BMW. All right.
Which is why I drive a 2003 Toyota Sequoia.
Speaking of a 2003 Toyota Sequoia. How about this one on Facebook Marketplace? I'll screenshot it right now. It's $3,250. Hold on, this is actually a pretty good deal. Let me 169,000 miles. Hold on. But then the price down here says $49.50 OBO. So it's got 169,000 miles, which I don't know if you know about Toyotas. Pretty young.
That's basically like 3,000 miles.
That's basically like 3,000 miles. 2003, you know. And then it even puts in here, Toyota Sequoias are known for lasting 300,000 to 400,000 miles with proper maintenance. Ready to drive home today.
Yeah.
And this is sold by Stan Tramp. So their cover photo is a BMW. I'm going to screenshot that. And their profile picture is is the thing from It. I think I don't know.
I think that is what that is.
Kind of creepy.
That is a little creepy.
So if you're interested in that, it's in Glendale, California.
Make sure you do the pickup at a police station. Do one of those police station Facebook.
I mean, it looks pretty good.
One.
I like the color. What's the wear and tear on the inside? Let's see some interior shots. Honestly, the interior is pretty good for a 2003. This is a 23-year-old vehicle.
There you go.
You know, interior looks pretty good. I would do it. I might do it.
So
you can't buy this. You know what? Sorry, this week's sponsor's canceled. I just bought a Toyota Sequoia. You know?
Use code TILLN.
You're always trying to make that joke when I do these promos, and every time you're like, use code TILLN. It's like we're doing it, and then you're trying to sneak into my frame. You're always over like, use code TILLN, by the way. Make sure to use code TILLN.
I wasn't even.
And then it's like, hey, buddy, but every single time you're like
that.
Use code TILLN when you check out, because like that's the funny part of the bit.
It's not the funny.
The funny part of the bit is not that we're reading a Facebook marketplace ad. It's that you're using code TILLN. And if you don't use code TILLN, then it's not funny. That's my view.
So they come and they say, "Hey, we're from corporate. We're taking over your store." And what they allege is that she owes a ton of money.
And then he hit a button. Sirens
went
off, and there's a code TILLN, you know?
No.
Funnier joke than what he was doing.
A bunch of minifigures run in, life-size minifigures, and they kill her.
They take their Lego hands.
No, they say, hey, they allege that she has a bunch of unpaid franchise fees and also rent. Because this is
late at night. We're coming in. Crystal's there.
Crystal's there, yeah. She's
okay.
working.
And they go, hey, you have unpaid franchising agreements.
Unpaid franchise fees and unpaid rent because they are the owner of the property. So the way that this franchise doesn't own the property, and then you lease from the property, the franchise.
Which is how we should do a whole episode of how McDonald's and Subway really are killing their franchisees. It's truly remarkable.
So they but
it's just business.
It's
basic supply and demand business. It's economics.
So the people there that night were someone from corporate, and the new franchise owner. They went and they found somebody else to buy the franchise in this behind her back in this whole time.
In Oregon.
Yeah, and they did a hostile takeover. So she doesn't get to sell it. They're seizing the franchise back from her. And so this is actually security camera footage from that night. This is one of the new owners. There's two partners that are coming in as new owners.
Yeah.
This is a guy by the name of Brandon.
Oh, we don't even gotta wear suits.
Yeah,
this guy's just wearing an Under Armour quarter zip and a backwards
from his
hat.
middle school football practice.
Yeah. Where he plays running back.
The team's losing that year.
The team's losing so bad that we need a 52-year-old man.
Remember back in the day, Brandon Best? He was so good.
Dude. That's like the coaches are sitting around like, man, if we could just have a Brandon Best in our team. And it's like, hey.
What are the assistants?
Would you
behind his back?
Check the rule book.
See if.
I actually ran this rule book through ChatGPT, and it said that there's nothing in here.
Against having a 50-year-old running back.
It says that they can be any age. They just have to be under 6 foot.
And guess what? He's 5'11 3/4.
He's very tall.
Right at the cutoff.
So Brandon Best, he's not wearing a suit. He comes in. This is security camera footage.
I'll
be honest, Crystal's got purple hair. She doesn't seem like she's running a tight business. There's not a tight ship being run over here, you know? And you're like, oh, Jaron, that's a generalization of people with purple hair. Yep.
It's pretty accurate. So they go around the store and they take pictures of everything in the store, the whole inventory that night. And she is trying to print out a bunch of receipts from the POS.
Okay.
And they're like, hey, you can't do that. You need to leave. And she's like, no, you don't understand. I have to get receipts because I have a guy who has a collection here under consignment.
Right.
And he has unpaid invoices because she'd been paying basically monthly. And so she says, I owe him a lot of money for sets we've sold. I need to get that. And Brandon tells her, he says, well, that's a business thing. We're taking over your business. And so anything that the business
we'll handle that is what he's saying.
Yeah, that's our problem now.
Sure.
As the new business. And so basically they kick her out and she leaves and they take over the company.
So she was not paying.
Corporate alleges she wasn't paying corporate.
Okay.
Brandon has been paid for some of this, he says.
These are two people named Brandon?
Or I shouldn't say Brian. Brian. Who owns
I was going to say,
who
Brian
owns
the collection.
Yeah. He's been
That's
paid for
Brandon
some of
Best.
That's Brandon, yes.
Yeah.
And so he says that Crystal had paid him for some items that they've sold throughout that year.
Sure.
But there's definitely the majority of that collection is still in that store.
Right.
And in fact, they went through the security camera footage from that night, and you can see a lot of it in the inventory on that store throughout the store. And you know it's his because he put yellow stickers on all of his collection when he brought it in. So he knows it's like clearly identifiable what's his and not somebody else's that's there. And so Brian Mansell tries to get in contact with new ownership after this goes over, just to kind of make sure everything's still good. Isn't really getting like much feedback in contact with them.
Okay.
Eventually he goes into the store, and while he's in the store, he runs into the other owner. This is a guy by the name of, I believe it's Josh. Yeah, Josh Johnson. This is Josh Johnson.
Okay.
And this is
This is from police camera footage. So this is how I know the story gets good, because I know what an Axon body camera is.
And so Josh Johnson is in the store.
I know what an Axon body cam is. You know?
Josh Johnson's the other partner in this business.
I just saw Alex like just looking at his screen, really taking in this guy. And this is 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Recent.
Yeah.
He's dressed like a 2014 youth pastor.
Yeah. Which is dressed as a 1950s lumberjack. Maybe before. I don't know when lumberjacks are.
I don't know either.
Now, I think.
And so Brian's basically like, hey, I've been trying to contact you about my collection that's under consignment here. I know you just switched over owners.
Right.
I'd like to just take my collection back. I can't get a hold of you. I don't like what's going on here. Like, I'd like to just take it back and find some other way to sell it.
And they're like, no.
And he says, we don't have your collection. And he's like, no, you do. I have a consignment agreement. I actually have it in writing here, signed with the previous ownership. You took over, so now this is your inventory, but it's my product, and so I'd like to take it back. And the guy just like thumbs through the contract, and he's like, look around. Do you see it here? And he's like, no, I don't see it here. He's like, can we check in the back? And he just crosses his arm. He crosses his arms, and he looks at him, and he says, let me tell you how this is gonna work. You're either gonna leave, or you can take me to court, and we're gonna draw this out, and we're gonna drain you for everything you're worth. And I'm gonna tell you, it's not gonna be worth it for you. And so Brian and him, they kind of get in a little disagreement that night. It doesn't like escalate or anything like that. And eventually,
let me tell you how this is going to work. All right. When you wake up, you're going to see me outside your house every day until I get my collection back. All right. Your kids go to this school. I know. Their teacher. I've been flirting with her. Hey, we just reduced the price of our Patreon to $6.99 a month. That's one price for everybody. You get all the perks. You get the live hangouts. You get to join the Discord. You get early access. Whichever reason you're joining for, we wanted to make it one price because I hate that everything in the world is going up in price. And so we wanted to make this a little bit more affordable for everyone to do. And so, but also, the other goal is that more of you join it so that we can keep funding the show. I mean, like, we're, how do I say that? That sounds like we're poor, and we are.
We are.
And no, but if you can't join us on Patreon, no worries at all. Another way to support the show is by sharing it. Please tell somebody you like the show, and thanks for being here for this episode.
She's giving me information.
I'm dating their teacher now. So now I go into the classroom and I bring, when my wife was teaching third grade, we, at the end of the school year, this was a learning moment, we were like, let's get cake for the end of the school year. But she ordered an ice cream cake. I don't know if you know about ice cream cakes. You got to let those things thaw because you can't cut into them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%.
And you definitely can't cut into them when they're frozen and there's 13 just freaking 8-year-olds being like, ice cream cake! And you're sitting there like, okay, Abraham, chill out, relax. And then you're looking at her and she's over there panicking, being like, I'm trying. I'm like, hey guys, you know.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'm trying to be funny.
Yeah. Did any of your dads happen to steal a Lego set from my friend Brian? You know?
So
I hate when people are like, sue me, see what happens. And I'm like,
know.
well, you know what? Let's go a different route.
Do it. I'll break your legs. See what happens.
Is this your mom's address? like, hey, I'll get crazy, dude.
So, let's see. December 30th.
Last year.
Yeah, 2024. December 30th, 2024.
Okay.
Brian reports the situation to the Kaiser Police Department, which is the town they're in, right outside Salem. And they do a full investigation. And as a part of the investigation, they track down 230 minifigures and several sets that Crystal actually had stored at her house. And so she said, I didn't realize I had these stored here. There's so many it didn't fit in the store. So I just had some of them here. She returned some of them. But it is
233 of them?
230 minifigures of just the minifigures. And then
how many
sets.
more did she have at her house?
That's how much was at her house. That's what they seized from her house. Yeah, they seized everything that they found at her house.
But that's what I'm saying. That was Brian's.
That was Brian's, correct.
How many more did she have at her house to not know?
That's what I'm saying. Other minifigures?
If I got 200 minifigures,
yeah, that's a lot.
How many more do you have to have for those to blend into your collection? That's what I'm asking.
Okay, yeah, that's a good question.
You know, I didn't realize. I thought they were all mine. As you're looking at your gigantic, you know.
That's fair. The police approach corporate Bricks and Minifigures and the franchise to try to collect from them, but they're not able to source anything that was clearly Brian's. And so he gets.
Did he keep track of like the serial numbers on the thing? I guess like
what's tough is I don't know. Like I know he says he has a spreadsheet with an inventory, but I don't know how detailed that inventory is. Like all I know is he says he knows what he has.
I have this. You know, you gotta take a picture of the whole thing.
Yeah, have the SKU numbers, all of that.
Right.
But it could have just been the name, and then he has a sticker on it. Like that could have been his whole process. I don't know. And so they're not able to source anything else. The police. The district attorney actually for the county district attorney in May of 2025 basically declines to prosecute the case and says that there is nothing that Bricks and Minifigs corporate or this franchise did wrong. This was just a transfer of business, and they basically are like, we don't know what's yours, and we're not going to prosecute anything. And so he basically went through all legal routes he was capable of going through. And he's like,
now he has to go through the other routes.
he's like, I can't figure out what else I'm going to do here to solve this problem. And so he posts online and he's like, hey, I'm trying to just figure out does anybody have any other ideas? And someone happens to know this group of podcasters. It's a small podcast. They go through and they put out a couple episodes of them trying to get to the bottom of the case. And they actually get hit with a cease and desist from Bricks and Minifigs. And so they back off. But it was enough to get enough people starting to think about it.
Hey, Bricks and Minifigs. What are you going to do about it? We're covering this story. That's sketchy, by the way. That's suspicious.
And so, meanwhile, there was this other YouTuber. This other YouTube channel's investigating it. They get the cease and desist. There starts being some like chatter online about it on the Reddit and different forums and things like that. But it's not huge yet. There's this other YouTuber by the name of Reckless Ben. You might know who this guy is because we actually did talk about him in another episode.
Yes.
Because he's the guy who exposed the Yellow Deli cult and got in the cult.
Yeah.
Very annoying guy. But
people say that about you in the comments too.
Yeah.
Because of that. Right there.
Sorry. Okay. So, I'm holding it back. I'm trying to be less annoying. Say he was annoying until he stopped.
Use code TILLN.
So Reckless Ben and his team are looking for another case to investigate because that's what they do. Is they do this like long form.
Yeah.
YouTube journalism. I don't know what to call it.
I can't wait for them to talk about our podcast. Be like, yeah, these two do this long form YouTube podcast.
It's not journal. You could call it journalism. Reckless Ben, to give you an idea of who they are, they very much are like Mr. Beast style, like super hype, like, I investigated this cult. and they like that kind of YouTuber. You know what I'm
Sure.
talking about? And so him and his team were trying to find different things to investigate.
Which I guess if you look back, Mythbusters was kind of like that too, though. Like the energy they had on TV was a little bit like what YouTube is.
Yeah, a little catchy. Yeah,
Junkyard Wars.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we're putting these 2 teams of engineers in a junkyard.
Yeah, that's true.
And making them fight to the death. I forget what the show was about.
And so Reckless Ben finds a store and he's like, oh, this is great. I'm in. And so he calls Brian. And him and Brian basically agree, like, let's do this together. And Reckless Ben is a big YouTuber.
Yeah.
Like, he's not small time. So, like, he actually, like, has at least the funding to approach this.
Yeah.
And the audience decides to make a deal out of it. So, he tries to just show up at the store. And he says, hey, can we have my friend's collection back? And long story...
and put his picture back up again, by the way. Hey... We're here to collect my friend's stuff. Okay, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, so he shows up at the store, and I don't know. This was the first point I got really annoyed with the guy because he shows up and he's like,
which
hey,
guy?
Reckless Ben.
Okay.
Because he's like, hey, you guys stole my friend's collection. I'm asking for you to give it back. That's all we're doing here. We just want to get it back. And they're like, we don't have anybody's collection here. And this is just the employee at the front of the store.
Yeah.
She's like, we don't have anybody's collection here. And he legitimately harasses her. Like, he's there forever. Just be like, yeah, you did. You stole it. You stole this. Like, you don't want to you're going to go to jail. And like, he's like filming this on like meta glasses or something. Yeah. And so finally she's like,
you're going to jail unless you take all the cash out of the register. And you go across the street and get me a Visa gift card. And give that to me right now.
And so
that's the only way to save you from going to jail from me.
So he just harasses her. Eventually, she calls the cops. The cops show up, and he's like, "Perfect, the cops are here. I'm gonna tell the cops what happened." He's like, "I'm gonna tell the cops what happened."
That's always my reaction when police show up too. Oh, perfect. The police are here. Perfect. Oh, perfect. The cops.
So he goes outside to talk to the cop, and he's like, they stole this collection. The cops immediately realize, okay, that's a civil matter, and it's not my problem.
Yeah, the cop is like, all right, sorry, all right.
And so the cop is like, but the criminal matter at hand is you're harassing that woman in her store. She asked you to leave multiple times.
Sure.
And you're not leaving. And so we're going to trespass you. And if you come back, you're going to be arrested.
Yeah.
And so he makes this whole big deal. This is the moment he lost me because he was like, the police are in bed with Bricks and Minifigs corporate and they're covering up their crimes. And it's like, I know you're just making a YouTube video, but gosh, it was so annoying. And so he's
not wrong though. The police are in bed with Bricks and Minifigs. We need some like dramatic, like dun dun.
So he's like, well, I can't go back to the store now. I have to find another way. So he goes to the corporate office and he asks to see the CEO, and the CEO comes out. This is the CEO of Bricks and Minifigs.
All right. For the listener, I'm going to be honest. This guy, either his facial hair is always like this, which is a little soul patch thing and a little,
they're like,
curled mustache, one of those guys.
Yeah.
You gotta hope he's currently playing in a local theater production of.
This is what he looks like.
You don't think he's in a local theater production of Wicked?
No, I'm confident because I know.
And he's not the guy who comes out and he goes, "The wizard will see you now."
Yeah, he's not. He's not. He looks like that guy.
Okay,
that's not. His name is Ammon McNeff.
Ammon.
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 Yeah. His brother is the COO. His brother's
name is George.
His brother's name is Matt.
Yeah, heck yeah, dude. Ammon and Matt. Their dad's name is also Matt.
And so he comes out.
Ammon's kind of cool though.
And Ben harasses him too. Does the same spiel like you stole my friend's stuff.
Where is corporate?
Oh, corporate's in Utah.
Okay,
Salt Lake City. And so he's like, you stole from my friend, and he's like, no, we did not. And he's like, yeah, you stole a $200,000 Star Wars collection from my friend. I'm trying to get it back. And he's like, we did not do that. And he's like, if you don't leave, you're going to be trespassed. Eventually, the cops show up. He gets trespassed from court.
And he goes, perfect.
He's like, perfect. The cops. They're going to solve the problem.
Perfect. The cops.
Perfect. The cops. And so he gets obviously trespassed, and now he's like, I gotta figure out something else to do. How am I gonna get this collection back?
Sure.
And so he develops this interesting idea. Instead of like going to the law or trying to do this in like a logical way. He says, we're going to bring a YouTuber to the store, another YouTuber, and they're going to do a giveaway, like Mr. Beast style. You just won a bunch of money to one of the employees. And while he's in there, his cameraman's going to film the inventory of the store so we can see all the stuff that's in the store.
Gotcha.
And so there's going to be like, this is B-roll basically. And they're going to do the whole thing. And so they did this thing and they're like, you won. And they're like, you want to collect your prize. And this is the thing that's a little crazy is they're like, we need to go to the woods to give you your prize. And she agrees to this. She's like, well, after I get off my shift.
We need to go to the woods. Okay. I would love, how much was the prize? What was the prize?
I don't.
What prize do you offer someone who's working at
it was just money.
Brick and mortar Bricks and Minifigs? You go, hey, congratulations. We're YouTubers.
Yeah.
You don't recognize us, but you're taking our word for it that we're YouTubers and we're giving you a prize.
And so they take her out
she's like, great. We just need you to follow us to the woods.
And so luckily they weren't killers. They took her out to the woods and they were like, hey, now that we're in this clearing in the woods, we can tell you this is all a ruse.
Just kidding.
We're trying to get that stolen collection back for our friend. So they basically like come clean. And she's like, oh, interesting. My boss has told you about you. He's trying to get you guys arrested. And so
and he was like, perfect.
Perfect.
The cops.
And so she gives them a bunch of.
What do you mean? Is there footage of them in the woods? Do you have an image of them in the woods?
This is a screenshot from their video, just immediately after her shift in the woods.
Oh,
and she's in uniform and
she's
everything.
trying to get you guys arrested. And now this girl is. How old did you think this girl is? 18, 19?
Yeah, something like that.
In the woods
with the
strangers.
It's like 5 guys.
And this is the woods we're talking about.
This is the literal woods.
For your audio listener, it's the woods. I don't know how else to describe that to you.
Yeah, it's very dumb that she went out there with them alone. That was really stupid. That was a big mistake on her part. But she was like,
her facial expression.
I'm going to be in a YouTube video.
Whoa.
This is when she realized, when they told her everything, she realized, oh, you're the guys that my boss
What's
is
the
trying to
props
get
on the table?
So they did they brought her out there and the ruse was like, oh, like this is like this weird religion thing. And they had like a whole thing that they did.
Yeah, they put like a white cloth on her, spun her around, like tied her to a bunch of sticks.
They tried to make it like a weird.
They were like, they made it look like they were going to set her on fire. And then they were like, just kidding.
And they were like, surprise.
She was like, well, I really thought I was going to die
all that weird stuff.
That's crazy.
They were like, because it for clicks.
So, okay. Yeah, just to we thought it was funny that you kept saying yes. Like they were like, you're going to the wood. Like they're like, okay, we're gonna give you your prize. We want to talk to you, and she's like, oh, okay. And then they're kind of like, that was too easy. They're like, we want to talk to you outside of the store. Okay.
Okay.
We want to talk to you in the back of our van.
In the woods.
Okay. We want to talk to you in the woods. Like, she was like, sure. And they're like, we want to dig our own graves. She's like, no, that's weird. And they're like, oh, okay.
We found the line.
Okay.
We found we were just trying
digging
to
our own graves is a little too far for this stranger we've met. She won't stand in a grave she dug, but she will talk to us in the woods.
Talk to us in the woods. Okay, we got it.
Yeah. What do you do for your work? Well, I'm a YouTuber. What does that look like? I lure young girls into the woods.
That's an out of context clip.
Yeah, I was back when I was into scaring third graders.
So anyways, they take her out there. They find out that, oh yeah, they're trying to get us arrested.
I can't get over this. That is insanity. So they take her out there.
Yeah.
So the whole thing was to get footage of the store.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Why did they have to do the woods part?
The woods part. Here's the thing. I realized after watching a lot of this guy's videos for this whole saga, is there's a lot of things that happen that are very catchy for clips.
Yeah, of course.
It's very clearly for clips, or for like just headline stuff. You know,
that's why we can't grow our podcast.
We're not taking anyone in the woods.
We're not luring people into the woods.
Anyways, so long story short, in this conversation, she gives him her boss's phone number.
Yeah.
Which is Josh Johnson's phone number.
Okay.
And so he starts calling Josh, and Josh is answering the phone. And so basically, they start having a lot of conversation about it. Josh denies that they have anything. Josh is like, we don't have any of that collection. We don't have a single piece.
And they're not trying to pretend that they're not. They're like, hey, we're YouTubers.
Yeah, they're straight up. They're like, we're YouTubers. We're trying to track this down for our friend. We're trying to just get the collection back to him. His dad's dying of cancer. He needs the money. Like, we just want to get this fixed for him. And Josh is like, well, we don't have it. Like, we don't, like, I understand what you're trying to do. And it's like, it starts pretty civil. He's like, we don't have any of this. And so we can't give you what we don't have. And so it's just kind of like back and forth.
And he's like, well, I'll tell you what we have. We have footage of your store, and we also have your employee in the woods. Like, freaking okay.
And so,
also, I'm dating your daughter's teacher, and it's going well.
You're what?
I like her. I started doing it to try to get info about you, but it's actually turned into a genuine connection. I'm meeting her mom next week. Okay.
And honestly, think of this as a formal invite to the wedding if it happens. I don't know. I don't want to speak that.
I'll tell you where the venue is.
I feel pretty good about it.
In the woods.
The whole wedding is a ruse to get him into the woods.
Everyone's just standing around.
I'll tell you where the wedding is.
You are
inside our own grave.
And you guys are standing in the woods, like families around. You've done a whole wedding. And this girl has no idea, and you're standing at the altar, and you're like trying to tell the pastor, you're like, hey, stall a little bit, because you're like looking around for Josh Johnson to show up, and you're like, surely he's not, and you're sitting here like, I do promise
you get
to
married
love
because the guy didn't fall for you
and to hold.
What are you looking at?
Hey, did you guys hear that?
Did you guys hear? I think there's somebody out there.
I think we gotta wait.
There's somebody out there.
Someone's coming.
Somebody's late to the wedding. I don't want to.
Oh,
I don't
perfect!
Want to miss
it's the cops.
Hey, what are you guys doing here in the woods? You can't just have a wedding in the woods.
I can't marry this teacher.
You tell me I can't marry a teacher in the woods?
I don't even know her name. That's how committed to this YouTube video I am.
All I know of you is Josh
here's how it goes. Here's how it goes. Here's how it goes.
That's what I call you.
You're like, I promise to love and hold and cherish. And also that brings us to this week's sponsor, YouTubers, dude. Crazy.
So he goes back and forth with Josh Johnson for a while.
Yeah.
He does some stunts along the way. For example, one thing he does is he sets up, he legitimately sets up a real business. The reason he does this is because he goes to Bricks Minifigs corporate. He tries to go after corporate, but corporate's like, that's a franchise. They are not us. Like, we do not have control over what they do. If you have an issue with them, you take it up with them.
Yeah.
It's not our problem.
Sue them.
Yeah. And so the things that our franchises do is not our issue. And so what he does is he sets up an LLC. He calls it I Steal From Old People LLC. Makes a website and does
dang it
and sells a franchise to one of his like friends.
And
then they go and they get a permit and they sell his merch on the street outside the store. And it's just the face of the owner, and it says, I steal from old people. And that's their merch. And they stand outside and they're like, hey, they're stealing from old people in there. And so then the police obviously get called, and the police show up, and they come to Ben, and Ben's like, well, that's a franchise. I'm not responsible for what my franchise does.
That's actually kind of funny.
Yeah. And so they all get trespassed. But they do stunts like that for all the time.
Yeah.
So
for the
this
video.
back and forth of them doing stunts and things like that and getting in disagreements until eventually they get in this big blow up thing where Josh Johnson's basically like, sue me. Just sue me. You want to sue me? Sue me. Do it.
Oh boy, am I sick. I sure do need Tim Stone's Get Well Quick Trick. And what is it? It's simply chug an entire gallon of orange juice. Wow, I forgot. And then this shirt reminded me. I'm so glad that I have this shirt as a public service announcement, a public health service to other people around me. Do your part. Get this shirt. Shop.TILLN.com.
And so they go through and they look at the possibility of suing him.
Okay.
The problem is this is a major lawsuit. $200,000
Right.
is a major lawsuit, and they don't know if they have the manpower to pull off this major lawsuit. So what they decide instead is they say we could go to small claims. But the problem is $200,000 is way too much for small claims. So they said, well, what if we can split it up 20 ways? But that's illegal. You can't split up a debt 20 ways. So what they did instead is he got together 20 people, and they all went to the bank and they took out $10,000 worth of debt and credit or loans or whatever. And then they used that to go to Brian. And because he still technically owned all of his Lego collection, like even though he doesn't have it in his possession, he still owned it. They bought $10,000 worth of his Legos from him.
Okay.
And then later they called Brian and they said, hey man, I'm really down on my luck. Like I need $10,000 to pay off this debt. Is there any way you could loan me $10,000? And they took the $10,000 that they bought their minifigures from, and they paid off their loans to the banks and their credit card debt to the banks. So now it's zeroed out, but now they can't get this product because Brick and Minifigs have it. And so they all went to Bricks and Minifigs and they're like, hey, I just bought this consigned item. I have all the documentation that it's mine. Will you give it to me? And the Bricks and Minifigs was like, no, we're not going to give it to you. We don't have that.
Wait, how? Okay.
And so now he's got 20 people who, technically speaking, because they went directly to the consignor, the owner, they went to the consignor and tried to pick it up, and the consignor's not letting them pick it up. So now all 20 of them went and opened up a small claims.
Okay, so the way the consignment works then is they can buy it through Brian.
Yeah, you can still buy it through Brian. Brian just has to report it to you. And so he called, reported it, and they were like, we don't have any of your stuff. And then he's like, okay, well, I'm reporting it to you. And then he told them, okay, they know, you go pick it up from them. And so then they went to go pick it up, and they were like, we don't have it.
And so it's like, well, that's your fault.
Yeah, and so then they went and they all filed a small claim suit for $10,000.
Got it.
20 separate cases. It's very cheeky. I don't know if it could hold up. But what they did, they knew that they weren't going to accept the papers when they served them.
Right.
So, and this was also a catchy thing. They made up a fake Guinness World Records thing where they had a Guinness person show up and they're like, we got you the prize for most Legos stolen from an old person. This is from Guinness Book of World Records. And so they like set it up to where they set the expectation of like, oh, this is the YouTuber faking stuff again.
Sure.
And then immediately after that, they had all 20 people start showing up serving the court papers for each small claim.
Small claims court, yeah.
Eventually, they closed the doors for the day. They had to come back tomorrow. And anyways, eventually they served all the papers. And they then went to court. But he's like, we expected this, and we honestly hoped for this, that they would think that none of this was legit, which they didn't. They didn't show up for court, which means all those cases went into default, which meant that franchise lost and owed all those people their $10,000 claims because they didn't show up to court that day. So they won. The very next day, they show up to the store to be like, hey, you didn't show up. Here's the paperwork that says you owe us $10,000. And there were signs on the door that says permanently closed. And they shut the business down and they were gone. Didn't tell any employees, didn't tell anyone. It was like one of those where it's just like silently overnight, they shut the business down, dissolved the LLC. And so they won the case, but they can't collect because it was against that franchise. They go to corporate. Corporate's like, well, that was against that franchise. That franchise doesn't exist. It's essentially bankrupt. Like, there's nothing we can do. It's not, your case isn't against us. And so it's kind of this weird legal gray area where it's kind of like bankruptcy, where it's like, well, that entity doesn't exist, and being able to collect, even though you won, being able to collect from an entity that doesn't exist is very legally difficult to pull off. And so they get stuck in this weird limbo here. So they say, okay, well, we can go try to collect from them. Here's the thing about both of these guys. They don't live in the town where the store is, though.
Right.
They live outside of Salt Lake in a town called American Fork. So it's like between Salt Lake and Provo.
Yeah.
And so this is where the story goes from like, I don't really like Reckless Ben to Reckless Ben's what? Okay. Anyways, so they go to Utah and they say, let's go collect from them and get them to pay. So they show up at Josh Johnson's house, and
Which they should have done from the beginning. I'm on board.
they show up at Josh Johnson's house. When they get there, Josh is on the phone outside his house. So like, we'll let him finish his phone call. And I don't know exactly how this happened, but before Josh gets off the phone call, a police cruiser pulls up to his house, and then another one, and then another one. And then the police talk to Josh for a while, and then they come over to his car, which is pretty shocking that they know. Like, I don't understand what they know, because we find out afterwards, they show the outside of the car. It's like tinted out. Like, you can't see anything in it. And they get Reckless Ben out, and they talk to him, and they're like, hey, well, we're trespassing you from his property. Somehow they figured out he was there before like any interaction began. And so like, if you show back up, like you're going to be arrested. And then they leave. And when they leave, they're driving away, and the police follow him. And so he's like,
follow who?
Reckless Ben.
Okay.
In his group. And so Reckless Ben's in the backseat. He's not driving. He's got one of his other like cameramen driving. And he's like, make sure you're like, follow every traffic law. Don't do anything wrong. They're like clearly following us. And there's actually in the video, you see it, like he stops at a stop sign, complete stop, blinkers on, turns, like not a rolling stop. And then they light him up. They pull him over. They say he failed to stop, which is not true. He definitely did.
They have it on footage.
Yeah, they have it on footage. He definitely did not fail to stop. And the police come up, and they don't even look at the driver. They go immediately like lean around the driver into the backseat, and they're like, who are you? And he's like, I'm Ben. And this is obviously a different cop than the one he just talked to. And long story short, they hold them there for 45 minutes, an hour, just kind of harassing him, asking crazy questions. There's nothing that they can immediately do there, so they eventually let him go. And then later that night, they're driving around trying to figure something else out to do. The police pull them over again, and they hold them for 3 hours, search their whole car, search all their persons. They tell them that they got a tip that there was heroin in the vehicle. And he's like, well, we don't have any. And they start doing, they do drug tests on everybody. And obviously they find nothing.
Right.
But they're very threatening to him. Like he tells them what's going on. He's like honest, tells them everything that's happening. And there's a point in this video where he's like, look, man, he's like, this situation, like you understand it looks really bad for you. Like you're out here, you're not from here, you're from Cali, you're in Utah. Like you could go to jail. You could be in jail for a long time. And he actually says this thing. He says, we play differently here, which is like, you're in a suburb of Salt Lake, bro.
We play differently here. Our parents are slightly related. So maybe freaking relax.
And so the next day, after this whole weird interaction with the police, they had like 3 really weird interactions from the police. He's trespassed from Josh Johnson's house.
Yeah.
He tries to go to Brandon Best's house, and Brandon answers the door. And it's really weird because Brandon answers the door and he doesn't say a word. He just walks out and stares at him. They're there for 40 minutes, and Ben's just trying to talk to him, be like, hey, we won a lawsuit against you guys. We're just trying to collect the money that you owe us. Like, that's all we're here to do. Then the police show up. The police trespass Ben and his crew from Brandon Best's house.
Right.
And so Ben's like, okay, I guess we got to sue them personally to get our money because they're not going to pay in case we won. So they go through the process. They get a lawsuit together through the state of Oregon. They try to serve papers. And long story short, this just keeps happening. They just keep getting process servers to try to show up. The process servers the police show up. The police trespass the process servers. They can't serve these people. Like they're getting literally blocked from the police to serve the papers from them. There's even a point where Ben shows up with a process server. Yeah. And is like, we're just trying. He talks to the cop, and the cop, like this is the one cop who actually kind of hears them out. And he's like, well, you want me to try to serve them? And he's like, I mean, if you're willing to, that would be great. And so he goes up to the door. He's gone for like 30 minutes. He comes back. He's like, he didn't want him. And it's like, that's not how serving
works. He said no thanks.
He said no thanks.
Hi, I've got court papers here, and we just need to serve you.
Would you like to be served?
No, the door says no serving, please. Read the sign.
Read the sign.
It says no solicitors and no serving.
And so seeing this is like part 2 of his video. And seeing this whole video, you start to see this kind of saga where it's very clear the police are like immediately just sided with Josh Johnson and Brandon Best in this town, because they're harassing Ben and his friends. They're trespassing all of them, and then eventually Ben's like, okay, we can't serve them papers. The police are not letting us serve our papers, so we can't get a lawsuit going. So he says maybe the next best thing is we could get a GoFundMe, and so maybe we can build a bunch of publicity and get the money that way. So that we at least
at least take
Brian
care
and his
of
family get
Brian's
the money.
dad. Right.
And so they make this flyer. That's Josh Johnson holding wads of cash.
Yeah.
And there's a crying AI image of a family behind it. And it says, I stole a family's life savings. And he made banners of this. And he put it on the fence across the street from Josh Johnson's house. And was like, we're just trying to do a GoFundMe. And so in this event, the police show up again, and they block all the signage. They're like, you can't put this here, and they're arguing with him. He ends up getting arrested, and then one of his friends is talking to the police, and the police are like, well, we're gonna search your phone, and he's like, okay, and so he like hands him his phone, and what happens is as he's handing him his phone, his wallet app like triggers, so he just locks his phone. And when he locks his phone, the cop freaks out. And is like, don't do that. That's obstruction of evidence. And like grabs him and rips it out of his hand. And like they start like arresting him too. And they like grab him and cuff him up, throw him in the car. And they're like, that was really dumb what you did there. It was this whole ordeal. So these two guys both got arrested in this situation. The cops then go cut down all of the banners that they put up. And so they then go to jail. They're interrogated. They talk to the cops. They tell the cops everything. The cops, it's a whole thing.
You ever sit through someone just describing a YouTube video? Yeah? Then what happened? Dog.
Okay.
That was such a useless detail.
So by this point in the story,
What else
Ben's
happened?
been arrested twice.
Yeah.
One of his friends has been arrested. They tried to do this GoFundMe. The police won't let him do the GoFundMe. They're clearly harassing
How
him.
will the police not let him do a GoFundMe?
They're trespassing him every time they come anywhere near. Like any place where Josh Johnson or Ben frequent, they trespass him. They even tried...
How does that stop him from doing a GoFundMe? Are you talking about serving, you mean?
Oh, I'm talking about serving the papers. And then the GoFundMe, anytime they like set anything up, obviously they could like have the GoFundMe out, but anytime they try to advertise it in town, they interfere and they like cut down their banners or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
it's not for in town. It's for the internet.
I mean, for sure. And them doing that helped the GoFundMe for sure.
Right.
So anyways, all this is like crescendoing with the American Fork Police Department. For weeks, they have been kind of feuding.
Okay.
And eventually what happens is one of his friends gets picked up on one of these events. He's in jail.
Okay.
They all go back to the house that they're staying at. They're at this Airbnb. And the police show up and they raid the Airbnb.
Oh.
And they say that what they have is they have a warrant out for Ben's arrest. They say that he's armed and dangerous.
What?
They say that he has stolen Legos in that Airbnb. And they take everybody that was there staying.
Can you just put that rifle picture back up? He's got stolen Legos inside. Like, freaking, what are you talking about, dude? They say he has stolen Legos inside.
Yeah.
All right, go to the next one. Yeah, keep going through your little slideshow.
And so they arrested everybody in the building.
Okay.
In that Airbnb.
Yeah.
Took him back to jail. And interrogated Ben. They actually dislocated Ben's shoulder in this raid. And they claim that they got an anonymous tip, but it's like, this was Josh Johnson.
Yeah.
And so long story short, what became really obvious is the American Fork Police Department.
I'm going to go to a payphone and call in some anonymous tips on Josh Johnson.
Well, what became pretty clear pretty quickly is the American Fork Police Department had some sort of, I don't know if it's a prior relationship to Josh Johnson and Brandon Best, but they had a partiality to them, and not just one of them, like the whole department. What Reckless Ben alleges is because they were all members of the LDS Church. Because this is in that town, and all of them are members. He even at one point got a Mormon missionary to show up and try to like convince him, and they trespassed that kid. And so there was. I
would too. Yeah.
Trespass that kid.
They're annoying.
So now what has happened as a result is Ben got arrested. They booked him for 30 days without bail for I don't know what. I don't know what they're saying he did here. The charge is stalking. The charge is harassment. A judge pretty quickly overturned the without bail, but then they approved immediately after that. They like made bail. They got him out. They approved immediately after that he can be like a new warrant that would be without bail. So he skips town. He actually in another video, he makes another video that
he's currently on the run from the law.
He puts out another video shortly after where he's like, this is what happened. This is my warrant. It's without bail. But he's like, luckily, I have escaped the jurisdiction of the United States law enforcement because I'm in Mexico. And he like films this video in Mexico.
Because I'm in Mexico right now. I'm now an international criminal.
Which is illegal. And so he makes a follow-up video shortly after that with a very clearly green screened background.
Mexico.
No, it's a very clearly green screen background of the St. Louis Arch. And he's like, I'm in St. Louis, Kansas City right now. And and I'm giving an update on the Bricks and Minifigs situation. And
that's crazy.
So
this could legitimately ruin this guy's life.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And so this has become a thing where now, as a course of this whole YouTube saga, the first video got 6 million views. The second got 4.5 million views. Went super viral on social media.
Yeah.
Ton of people on Reddit talking about it. And has been such a big backlash for Bricks and Minifigs is that most Bricks and Minifigs franchises have been review bombed by people online.
Right.
And so this has become a huge ordeal for the
Speaking of review bombing, leave us one. Positive.
Leave a positive review bomb order.
Please. On
Bricks
Apple.
and Minifigs corporate
it
is
helps.
Still holding their guns that nothing wrong was done here. The franchise is still holding their guns that nothing's wrong here. Brian and Reckless Ben are still holding their guns that they stole from them. So now Bricks and Minifigs is suing Brian and Reckless Ben. They're suing the previous franchise owners.
Yeah.
And they have sent cease and desist to all these different YouTubers and streamers that are covering this. Brian and Reckless Ben are suing Bricks and Minifigs, and they're suing the new franchise owners.
Yeah.
And so it's just this massive web of lawsuits. Reckless Ben is suing the Police Department, which they're probably going to win because the Police Department made a YouTube channel after this, and their chief of police.
What's up, guys?
Their chief of police came out to basically refute every claim that Reckless Ben made. And then they publicized all the body cam footage, but they heavily redacted it. Unfortunately for them, whoever uploaded that, accidentally left a folder in that upload that was the full unredacted version. And so all the YouTubers found that immediately.
Right.
So the whole unredacted version's online now.
Yeah.
They figured it out within like 30 minutes and took it down, but it was too late.
Yeah.
So all over the internet is footage of...
I love when incompetence gets people. That's my favorite thing.
All over the internet, though, is this footage of the body cam footage where they are harassing Ben, and then they're going and buddy with Josh Johnson and Brandon Best, and they're joking around with them, and then they go back to their cars, and they are just like scheming, being like, well, can we get him on this? Nah, that doesn't really work in this situation. Can we get him on this? Like, no, that doesn't really work on this situation. And like very clearly, and they're like being like, okay, like how can we book them today? Like what is something we can find to book them?
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so a lot of stuff where they're like making fun of Ben and his camp, and they're like aligning themselves. And so it looks really, really bad for the police department is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And so this whole thing is still pending. Ben has a warrant out for his arrest. Is not.
But he's literally fled the country.
He's left the country. Well, he's back in St. Louis, Kansas City now.
Right.
Allegedly. But what's interesting is, CoffeeZilla. He did like a deep dive on this whole thing to try to figure out what happened to it. And he managed to get everybody in the story to play ball, to be like, hey, I just want to find the truth. And so everybody like got on calls with him. So he interviewed everybody. He got everybody to share their inventories and their spreadsheets.
Josh Johnson and everything?
Yeah, every single party involved. Bricks and Minifigs, the new franchise owners, the old franchise owners, Brian Best. And he compared all the spreadsheets and he went through, did all the work to figure out what's going on here. And long story short, here's what he found. He said, okay, we do know that initially there was that initial post that said this is a $200,000 collection. And he said, but after the collection was taken under consignment and valued, the total value in the spreadsheet from that consignment was actually $107,000. But that initial post was what everybody has run with in this story because it's a bigger number, it's more interesting, more exciting. And so it's actually $107,000 worth of product. What was recorded sales before the store was taken over was $24,000. And so those $24,000 were products that were sold. Some of that was paid to Brian, $17,000, which is the agreement. He gets 65%. Yeah. And so the expected inventory was there would be $82,000 worth of inventory left in the store. What they found was that in the photo evidence from the night of the takeover, there was 21,000 worth of sets available in the store. Bricks and Minifigs claimed that there was only 5. And so there's a discrepancy there. There also was a side deal where he had actually sold a chunk of this to M&R Productions, which is Reckless Ben's company, which is about $20,000 worth of sales to Reckless Ben's company. And that appears to be that collection that was seized back from Crystal's house.
Right.
And then there's some discrepancies in the point of sale where there's about 10,000 in sales that were registered in the store's computer system, but were never updated in the tracking spreadsheet. And so what CoffeeZilla realizes is, the people who were selling these items either didn't know or they mistakenly didn't follow the process and never updated the spreadsheet to say we just sold some of that consigned goods. They just sold it, money passed through, and then it was forgotten about. And so kind of a failure in process. Then there was about $25,000 worth of layaway inventory where people went in, and this was really rare for Bricks and Minifigs because they don't normally have enough the kind of product that would go on layaway. But because these are rare items, they had a bunch of stuff on layaway. So once you go through all of this, there's only about $10,000 worth of product that they can't explain where it was, which is most likely stuff that the new franchise had that they didn't realize they had and sold without realizing it belonged to him. So this whole thing
is over 10 grand.
Is over 10 grand and is a massive misunderstanding that comes from bad bookkeeping.
And how can you trust a girl to keep the books correctly when she is willing to follow some strangers into the woods? This feels like a hiring error.
And so
maybe that's, you know what? I'm hiring some new employees. Maybe.
Would you?
Quick questions. Core values here at the company: integrity, discretion, punctuality, Also, and please answer honestly, are you a U.S. citizen? Have you ever been convicted of a felony? If someone approached you and said they were a YouTuber, would you follow that person into the woods? So, sorry. That is just a yes or no?
What YouTuber would it be? It depends on the YouTuber.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end the call now.
No. Yeah, so CoffeeZilla's conclusion is basically what's going to happen is this whole thing's going to go to court. Discovery's going to surface that this is a
bookkeeping error.
This is a bookkeeping error. And then
all the stuff that they've done with the harassment stuff is actually going to bite them in the butt.
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a thing. Like Brian's going to get what he's owed from what's left.
Right.
But
then Brandon and Josh are going to sue for damages.
Yeah, and defamation.
For their business. Right.
Bricks and Minifigs defamation, Brandon and Josh defamation, and American Fork Police Department defamation probably, even though they
that might actually be, that could be a byproduct for the that could be a separate issue.
Yeah.
But
the whole thing's messy. Legal Eagle did a whole video on it, and it was really good. I definitely recommend that one. He straight up said, this is a situation where everybody involved
is in the wrong.
Should have talked to a lawyer earlier.
Yeah.
Because they all dug themselves into such.
And speaking of lawyers, my lawyer told us that we should just, if we were asked for comment, we should say, fit a law. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of Things I Learned Last Night. If you liked that one and you want another toy-related lawsuit, check out our episode on Steve Glue, the Pez dispenser outlaw, and the custom designs he was making and how Pez tried to go after him. It's actually genuinely it's a great, great episode. So go check that one out. And you can support us on Patreon. We actually lowered the price of our Patreon. We made it one price for every tier because everything in the world is really expensive, and we don't want you to feel like you're missing out on anything TILLN related because you can't afford to do that. We also just want to make it more accessible and not such a, not a burden, because freaking Apple TV went up crazy amounts in the last 6 years, and Netflix is like, hey, by the way, we're more this year, and we're letting you know we're less.
We're last.
So we'd love to see you over there. That's why we're less. Whatever that was.
It's my fault.